So I was reading this post on Instagram that someone had made talking about how Leigh Bardugo had basically changed a lot of the language and the characters in the Six of Crows duology to reflect the fact that they're adults instead of teenagers, as the original books seem to include. The original poster was talking about how they thought this change was really weird and like diabolical and painted the whole series in a new light, and was sort of like unjustifiable in a sense, or just like greatly changing things so much to the point that the entire duology had been changed in their eyes because Bardugo decided to age up the characters. And I just don't really understand this. First of all, I believe that there's something out there that said that Bardugo always wanted the Six of Crows duology to be adult and not YA, but she felt pressured or sort of like forced in a sense to make it YA. I think if you've read the Six of Crows duology, the fact that it's YA doesn't really make any sense, because the way that the characters act and behave and the insane feats that the characters are able to pull off doesn't really make a lot of sense if you consider the fact that they are teenagers. This was always like my only real gripe about the Six of Crows duology, which I loved, by the way, but one of my only gripes was that I just felt like all of this stuff that they were doing and all of the insane heists and the trickery and the cons and the schemes and all of that just felt really unbelievable if all the characters were like literally 17 and 18 years old. I feel like a lot of the themes that these characters encounter in this story, like gambling, sex trafficking, marginalization, discrimination, hate crimes, like all of these themes are quite dark for YA. So I actually don't find anything wrong or like egregious about Bardugo's decision to age up the characters. I think it makes sense. I think they always should have been in their 20s. I literally did feel like Bardugo was trying to stuff this book into YA when I didn't really feel like it belonged in YA. And again, this goes back to this whole thing of like the idea that authors, you know, particularly female authors, are pushed into and like pigeonholed into YA and putting their books in YA because it's got some romance and some like teen intrigue. No, Six of Crows is an incredibly fleshed out duology with really interesting characters that deals with really, really complex and deep themes. And that doesn't mean that YA can't do that, but I just felt like the whole fact they were teenagers really distracted me. Anyways, I really want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this. Do you guys think it's okay for an author to drastically edit? I mean, I don't think this was like a drastic edit, but whatever. Edit their books like 10 years after their release. I don't know. What do you think?